My friends, I have an incredible guest here with me today. I seriously could pinch myself when I realize all of the great people I get to interact with on this show. Cheryl Ecton, please introduce yourself to the audience. I can't wait for them to hear all of your wisdom.
Well, my name is Cheryl Ecton, and I'm the owner and CEO of Elite Building Services. We are a full service janitorial and building service company. And I'm also an author of a book that I just recently wrote called Choices Change Everything.
Voices change everything. And you and I were talking a little bit about that in the green room, and we were talking about the premise of this show, of the podcast. And what we're going to talk about today is not necessarily your work, right? Your career. We're going to talk about all of those other things because in reality, our personal lives build our professional lives, right?
Correct.
So we shared a story together that I think we could start off by saying, the one day that you were driving across the bridge from work. Let's break out that story right now to see, and then lean into the other things we want to share today.
Absolutely. I work in Delaware, but I live in New Jersey. And I remember coming home one afternoon after work. And as I was coming over the bridge, traffic started backing up, and I saw all types of police and ambulance and fire trucks, and got up to the top of the bridge thinking there was an accident. And I saw a gentleman sitting on the edge of the bridge, ready to jump. And
Mm.
it really, really touched me, and it really bothered me. I wanted to pull the car over. I wanted to say everything is going to be okay. It may seem really bad, but it's going to get better. And it really stuck with me for a long time. As a matter of fact, I kept trying to Google and find out what happened to him and if
Mm.
he was okay, as the police were trying to talk him down from the bridge. But the one thing that I kept reflecting back on was what made what shoved him over the edge that day. And I honestly wake up every morning and I say, please, God, don't let me shove someone over the edge today by my actions, by my words, by being unkind to somebody. Really think about what you say. And I could not help but think and wonder what was that one thing that day that made him say, I can't do it any longer. It's not worth it. I'm done. I'm going over. And um, and I think if more people thought about that and how they treat someone, I know that when I was going through the problems that I dealt with my daughter, I had a child with 21 surgeries throughout her life. And then I went into a horrible divorce, and the adversity that I was facing and not knowing whether my business was going to survive, and the livelihood of all the employees that I have. I know that acts of kindness and people being kind to me really stuck with me for a long period of time.
Sure, sure. What a great story and segue into the importance of kindness, right? And remembering that we're here for others, right? And that we're supported. So thankfully, the policemen were at the bridge, right? To catch this person, and stop him. But I love how you say, we should be so mindful about what we say to other people. And it could be a simple comment, but we should be very careful and not just like face to face, but any gestures while we're in our cars or wherever. It's just taking that step back, right? Because adversity, we we hide it, right? It's something that we don't always share, but it's important to have that support, right, Cheryl? I'm sure you can speak to that a little bit.
Oh, it's so important. Sometimes you feel like you're on an island by yourself, and just having supportive family or friends or just neighbors or strangers being kind to you is so important. Because you could be at a breaking point. You could be at a point of thinking that you just can't deal with it. And I had moments of just feeling like I'm not going to survive this divorce. I'm going to be financially ruined. I have children to take care of. And I remember going through all those thoughts in my head. And in my book, I talk about, having a meltdown and kind of sitting on my bedroom, the closet floor, um, having a little meltdown, just thinking, I can't make it through this. I don't know how I'm going to survive this. And, friends reaching out and encouraging me meant so much. And it really got me through what I was going through at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Support is so important. And I think that plants a seed in our minds to remember that if we get an inkling of one of our friends or anybody having difficulty, we should be there for them, even if it's just to sit with them and say, can I pick something up for you? There are just so many small gestures that we could promote within ourselves. And that mindset that you're sharing, like you were in that tough spot. Aside from support, was there anything else that helped you turn around, Cheryl? Aside from the support of your friends, like how else were you able to dig yourself out?
You know, part of part of it, I think, was my faith, and just
Okay.
really
Yeah.
relying on my faith and knowing that it's under control. Um, sometimes you don't feel like it is, and I tend to be one that I every day I'm fixing things, fixing things in our company or making decisions that will have an impact on the company. And sometimes you just have to go, okay, you know what? I don't have it all under control, but somebody else does. And rely a little bit on your faith. That helped me through. I had a great support system with my family. But also you had to look within. And I realized, I think we all have that strength. We just don't know when we're going to have to use it. And it comes at times when we really have to use that strength. And as I had that meltdown that one morning on the floor in my closet, I really, it wasn't a really long meltdown, seemed like a long time at the time. But you start thinking about all the people that rely on you, and I had a child in school, still needed more surgeries. I had a son in college. I had a lot of people who depended on me for their jobs,
Yeah.
whole families that worked for me. And I realized that I had to get up off that floor and make it happen. And I think sometimes it's you just have to be determined. You have to focus on getting up, getting back off that floor and facing whatever adversity that you have and trying to make the best decisions along the way to get yourself through it actually.
Yeah. So beautifully said. Yes. And you started with looking within
Mm-hmm.
and finding that strength because the answers are inside of us, right?
Absolutely.
And we have these awful distractions, things happen to us, but you went back and you reflected, having the faith and the trust, right? And having the trust in your faith, I should say, and just knowing and believing. But what I think is miraculous is your awareness of your importance to other people. Because essentially, I bring this up almost every episode that we are here for others. And your awareness of that, Cheryl, your awareness of that is what brought you back, which I think is miraculous. It is something that I love that we get to share in the show because it is so important for us to remember that when we're down. It is so
Absolutely.
important.
If you don't ever try, then you're absolutely going to fail. We
Mm,
don't even give ourselves the opportunity to succeed when we shut down and don't try. And so I think it is important. I mean, it's tough when you're going through adversity, and sometimes you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's there, and you have to work through these things. And I think just, you know, facing it, trying to make the best decisions, also understanding that people are counting on you, and not only risking what you have personally, but risking other people's lives as well.
yeah.
Important thing.
Yeah. So important. Sometimes when I think of charity and philanthropy, a lot of people think about, money, right? Making donations. But I think what we're talking about here, it's emotional in nature. So let's call this the emotional bank account, right? And building that up within ourselves and making deposits so that we can share them and give them away, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so you mentioned something about your book and helping women. Let's talk about that briefly and like the driving force of you putting that together.
Well, I was speaking at a women's conference one day, and I had at the end of the conference, a woman came up to me, and as she's walking up to me, she looked like $1 million. She was beautiful, and she had a beautiful suit on, and she looked like she just walked out of Fortune 500. And I thought, wow, this woman she's got it all together. And she walked up to me and she said, I'm really glad I came today. And I said, well, thank you for coming. And she said, I almost didn't make it. And I said, oh,
Mm,
okay. And I could tell that she wanted to tell me more. And she said, because I just found out I'm going to be going through a divorce this morning.
mm,
And she burst into tears and she's like, I'm
mm.
sorry. And she started apologizing. I said, wow. And I realized at that point, you can look all put together, but we are all dealing with things in our lives. And she said, this helped me so much because I feel like it's going to be okay. And I told her, I said, it's going to be okay. And I think at that point, I had several people at some of my speaking engagements that asked me, do you have a book? Are you writing a book? And certain people in my life were encouraging me to do that. And I thought, well, if it helps one person, get through some things in life, get through adversity in life, and it helps them in any way, then it's worth doing. And so that's what prompted me to write the book. It took me a little longer than my writers wanted me to take and my editors wanted me to take, but I wanted it to be good and I wanted it to really impact women and men also. It's not just for women. Just talks
Right.
more about the issues that we deal with as women.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. That story is so great. I mean, she shared her vulnerability and you were there for it. Right. That moment was meant to happen and you really helped her get through that. That's an incredible story. And you're part of her journey now too, right? Because she woke up that day, she showed up, and look at that, you were her inspiration. So that I trust and hope that everybody that gets to interact today as they listen to this, that they can be an inspiration for others as you were. So, in all of these amazing presentations, Cheryl, or perhaps on a daily basis, do you have a favorite piece of clothing or accessory? And how does it make you feel?
Well, I think this cross, and I don't know if you can see it, it's just a little gold cross. I wear
Mm-hmm.
it every single day. And it just kind of reminds me of my faith and where to put my trust. And so that's something that I keep on me every day. I don't actually take it off, it's part of my wardrobe.
I
Yeah.
love that. That's it. That's the exact right answer. That little reminder. And, some of us have pieces like that, but I love that you shared that so much. So, what a great conversation, Cheryl. If someone wanted to continue the conversation with you, where's the best place for them to reach you?
Well, LinkedIn is a great way to connect. Also, my website, www.cherylecton.com, it has an area where you can reach out to me on that website.
Great. That's wonderful. I will share those links in the show notes to make it nice and easy because I'm sure there are people that can be inspired by you and your voice today, Cheryl. So thank you so much for your time today. You are truly an inspiration.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate being on.